All right, peeps. On today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be answering all sorts of hot nonsense from Patreons. Lots of gems, lots of warriors paying bills online, lots of, you don't want to stick to me, bro? Then I'll make you stick to me. Let's get to it.
And every day, I practice martial arts.
Watch out!
Yo, Dre, how you doing, man?
Yo, Sifu, I'm Gucci Swayze. How are you today?
I'm doing good, man. Still reeling off of the excitement of them finding out who murdered Tupac.
Oh,
all right,
man. Oh, man.
Which is
Oh,
great.
man. It's
all right,
amazing.
So happy about that. That's a big thing for both of us.
Justice for Tupac.
Yeah,
It's
justice.
So dope.
All right,
So
for
dope.
two dudes, Tupac. All right, okay.
Right.
Awesome. So so here we are for another episode of KFG.
We're back. And last week's episode was a little off the rails. We kept saying stuff like
Roger!
and it
Are
was, we
you
just
fucking
what was
kidding
crazy?
me?
I never got to say it. And I felt out of
Did he get to say it on that episode?
No, I never got
he
to
didn't.
say it. I
Oh,
felt out of
okay.
the loop.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? I should say it this time.
You should.
At least once.
Yes, once is good
just,
enough.
let's just
right?
leave it there.
Because
right?
every
And
time
just
you
leave
say
it there, why?
dude's got to edit it.
Yeah,
it's a lot of
that's
work.
what it
it
is.
That's
took
why,
me
yeah.
hours to edit it.
Yeah. So apparently,
God, for
instead
real?
of Andrew doing the editing, our boy Mikey decided to
yeah.
edit all the
Take-
Roger!
out of
Exactly.
the last episode.
Why would he even
before
try to,
we sent it to
yes. Why
yeah.
did he say
Roger!
so much last week?
because that's my new favorite person to follow on Instagram. So anyway,
okay.
we have a Patreon episode. We got Patreon questions, and
Okay.
just a reminder now that instead of taking questions from the general YouTube masses, we
Right.
take questions only from our Patreons.
Yes.
But we do take episode ideas, obviously, from our YouTube
We do.
commenters, and we still get great ideas from our
We
YouTubers.
still do, yes.
And which reminds me, the best way to support the Kung Fu Genius is on Patreon. Patreon.com/The Kung Fu Genius for as little as $5 a month. I love doing this pitch, and the two of them are arguing with each other back and forth through expressions because of the whole thing. So anyway, the best way to support us is on Patreon, patreon.com/The Kung Fu Genius. For as little as $5 a month, you can get access to episodes early, my subscriber reels, a bunch of other goodies, and higher levels of support. Get higher levels of goodies, including private episodes with me and all sorts of other cool stuff as well. Translations of Yip Man interviews, all sorts of cool stuff. So anyway, patreon.com/The Kung Fu Genius. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to us here. So Dre.
Word is he's a kung fu genius.
Yep.
That's
Practice all day like a genius. All right. Okay.
Is
so
that how that lyric goes?
that is
That's how it
exactly how
goes.
that
That's
lyric
how it
goes.
goes.
So we got some questions from our Patreons.
We got
What
a
you
question
got
or
for
two.
me, Dre?
We got some Mr. Hope in the beginning.
Mr. Hope in the
Mr.
beginning.
Hope.
Is that his whole handle,
That's
Mr.
his
Hope
whole
in the
handle.
beginning?
Yeah.
So he doesn't have any hope later.
Only in the beginning. Yeah.
Got
and
it.
then it dwindles
All right.
as shit goes on.
Yeah,
As
pretty
shit-
much like everyone else.
Yeah,
All right.
So, Mr. Hope is asking, well, he starts off with, greetings, Sifu Alex and KFG team.
Yes. Hello, KFG team.
Question for the podcast.
Hi.
I've heard it said that at the basic level, Chi Sao is about learning to stick to your opponent, whereas at the more advanced level, Chi Sao is about making the opponent stick to you. Okay, man. This seems like a distinction without a difference. Have you ever heard this explanation before, and what is your interpretation of its meaning? Many thanks.
Yes.
So what if you could transport back in time for a front row seat into the life and legacy of one of the most respected Wing Chun masters in history? Gong Sao Wong, a tribute, direct students on Sifu Wong Sau Leung offers you just that. Through a series of exclusive conversations, 25 direct students share anecdotes, reflections, and personal stories offering in-depth understanding of the man behind the legend. Order your copy today across 12 Amazon marketplaces with free shipping. I absolutely love this book, and I think you'll find it an indispensable part of your collection. I can't recommend it enough. Get yours today. Go to Amazon, type in Gong Sao Wong, And there you go.
I've heard all sorts of interpretations of Chi Sao
Oh, God.
in my million years doing this
Okay.
art.
What's the craziest interpretation?
Well, the thing is that, this is not, so I'm not speaking specifically on this, specific one, right? But there's always a tendency in Chinese martial arts to come up with a lot of what I would call pseudo profundity. Things that sound extremely profound, like you'll listen, you'll be like,
wow.
you'll be like Kanunu Reeves.
Yeah. Whoa. Oh, I love it.
And then you wait a few minutes and you go, all right. But if it sounds like it came out of a fortune cookie,
Yeah.
then kung fu people will be super excited about it. You open a fortune cookie. At the highest levels of Chi Sao, you make your opponent stick to you. Whoa. All right. Well, I mean, look, it's always difficult when it comes to explain. All jokes aside, when it comes to explaining these things, it's always about context. Sometimes people assume that if we have a statement like, when you start, you stick to your opponent, and at the advanced levels, you make your opponent stick to you, as if somehow this is a line that is shared or understood by all different Wing Chun people, right?
Okay.
And the truth is that it might be a sentiment that most Wing Chun people could agree with if we only understood what the context was from the person who said it.
Okay.
And there we always have this kind of guru problem in a lot of Asian arts, not just martial arts, but even like in yoga and with the gurus and with like the contemplatives in India and stuff like this. It's like they sometimes like to say things
Right.
that it's like, if you don't understand what I mean, it's because you're not in the club. All right. So instead of a saying being something that is helpful, which I think it should be, we have all these mottos or maxims in Wing Chun. Most Chinese Kung Fu styles have their own mottos and maxims. There are maxims that are general to all of Chinese martial arts. And then there are maxims that are specific to certain martial arts, like a certain group of martial arts. And then there's some that are only for specific martial arts, all right? And these things are meant to be, they're basically, some of them are just kind of cheesy platitudes, Some of them are a little bit more
love
profound.
cheesy platitudes, though. This
Yes. I don't care if it rains or freezes as long as I got my cheesy platitudes. And some of them are very profound, and some of them are very practical, and some of them are just profoundly sounding. For example, lots of Wing Chun people get a little Wing Chun boner about others walk the bow, I walk the string.
Yeah.
All right?
I remember getting boners for that.
Yes, little Wing Chun boners, but real little Wing Chun boners, all right? It's yan hang gong, ngo hang yin, all right? So others walk the bow, I walk the string, all right?
Yeah.
And the idea is that, the bow, as in the bow and arrow, is curved, and the string is a straight line. So this is like what a lot of Wing Chun people think is like a mic drop. All right?
Man.
Because it's like, those other stupid styles with their dumb, round, curved attacks. How dumb are they to have not figured out the straight punch, right? First of all, most martial arts even the martial arts that focus on round attacks, like let's say Choi Lei Fat, also have straight punches, all right? Yeah,
that's
contrary to
profound.
popular belief, Choi Lei Fat also has straight punches, all right, okay? So it's not only like the Wing Chun people found this out, right? But the problem is like that is pseudo-profundity, all right? Because it's the Wing Chun Sifu with his arms crossed going like, others do round, inefficient curved punches and we do the straight punch, right? Okay, so others walk the bow and you walk the string. Okay.
Jab and hook.
Yeah. What happens when someone else walks the string? You're just going to keep doing this?
Yeah.
All right. And it's so funny when you pose that as a counter question to someone who's like, other idiots walk the bow, we walk the string. Cool. What happens if the other person walks the string?
Then they're like,
right? Okay. Because it's only half of a statement, right? Same like Bruce Lee said, Wing Chun has the Pat Dong Zhang, in his book, his green book, the Pat Dong Zhang, the immovable elbow. But this is not true at all. All right.
Okay.
First of all, how do you even do a chain punch without your elbow moving? All right.
No.
The thing is that Bruce Lee applied it to this kind of hinge principle that when someone packs out your arm or gives you cross pressure, that your elbow more or less stays in the same place like a hurricane, like a whirlwind this way here.
Yeah.
And the harder someone hits you, the harder this thing springs back, right? But he said, Wing Chun has a bat dong zhang, but what about bong sao to tan sao? What about chain punching? What about all the... Can you imagine if Wing Chun was really a style that didn't move its elbow?
No sinking elbow.
So the problem is that these things, they're either taught in an incomplete way,
Right.
or they're misunderstood by the person saying it, or they're only specific for a very specific context. So, for example, we have a saying in Wing Chun, in WT, that when the elbow moves, the stance doesn't move. And when the stance moves, the elbow doesn't move. And I remember when I learned this, it broke my brain. All right? Because Siva Learnting taught it at the 25th anniversary of the EWTO in Hockenheim, Germany, which was in 2001. And I was there for that. It was when I was still training at the castle. And I was like, wait a minute. When the elbow moves, the stance doesn't move. When the stance moves, the elbow doesn't move. And then I was like, well, how do you step and punch? How do you do like pretty much everything we do, right? And it kind of broke my brain because he didn't fully explain like what it meant. And then like a week or two later,
you were I can see
he
you
was
going in that.
he was either on that seminar tour or like a little bit later it was in September or later that year. He taught in Berlin, and I went and I saw him there. And then I asked him, like, what was that about?
Yeah.
And he explains to me, this only has to deal when you're turning and when you're turning defensively. So if you're turning offensively to attack, well, you move your waist and your elbows all at the same time. Everything moves together.
Yeah.
When you step and punch, everything
Turning
moves
force,
together.
turning
But when you're
power.
using certain passive techniques, then your arms are going to move first because your body's too slow. You cannot out-turn a punch at close range, but you can create a buffer with your arms, and as that power continues to come in, you can move to the side. So that means that a concept like that is not universal to all of Wing Chun. It is like very specific to one specific thing within WT. But if someone doesn't understand that, they will suddenly think, as Bruce Lee thought about the immovable elbow, that this is a universal thing about the entire Wing Chun style, right? So the problem is whenever it comes to these maxims and these sayings, you have to be very careful not to misappropriate the context if you don't know the context, okay? So that's why, like, you can't say, like, at the beginning, we stick to our opponent. In the advanced levels, our opponent sticks to us. Well, what does that actually mean? I mean, who said that? And what do they mean? And do they actually mean something honest with that? Or is it just the typical guru flex of, well, if you don't understand it, you're not part of the special club? Because what is our job here as martial art instructors?
Yeah.
It's our job to teach our students so that they can understand the art, if the art is the main thing they want to do. And if self-defense is the main thing they want to do, they have to be able to apply it.
Yeah.
So what's with all this mystical sounding bullshit? Okay, now I'm not saying this particular line is mystical sounding. I'm just saying if the author of this quote, all right, wherever Mr. Hope got it from.
So the great-grandfather never said this one.
Well, I don't know. I never heard.
Grandmaster?
Show me show me the quote.
Okay.
No, the problem is everyone has a Yip Man quote, which is funny because Yip Man only gave two written interviews in his life, and he did a handful of newspaper like PR blurbs, which are I've seen most of them on the Hong Kong archive newspapers. They're very. Yip Man is teaching Lei Koyan, and there's a photo of him teaching some starlet the knives. There's just a photo. There's nothing. But you look at the article, there's nothing of substance in there, right? The only articles that really have anything of substance, like substantive to what Yip Man actually said, are the two interviews with New Martial Hero. In the first interview, he just talks about mostly about learning Wing Chun from Chan Wa-shun and how much he paid in the early days. And in the second interview, the one where Leung Ting features prominently, that's the interview where he actually explains Wing Chun, about how the arm is like a spring, like a piece of rattan, and how you send your hands forward, and then like that the knife techniques are derived from the fist fighting techniques, right?
Yeah,
it's
everyone
just that
should see that episode.
yeah,
where
it's
you
it's just that
translate
because you know people there's a lot of haterade against Leung Cheng.
Haterade is
And-
Thursday.
And so I think that for that reason, a lot of the other Wing Chun Sifus don't promote. Like, it's like, dude, there is literally an interview with Yip Man where he explains how Wing Chun functions and what the basic setup of Wing Chun is. But it just so happens to also be the interview where Yip Man said that Leung Ting is his closed door student, and Leung Ting is literally the guy in all the photos with Yip Man.
Yeah,
so
so
then
they
it's like,
buried
oh
that.
no, we can't show our students this because it like legitimizes Leung Ting. It's like, okay, forget about Leung Ting. You could read that article and still hate Leung Ting. As a former Leung Ting student, you have my permission to still hate Leung Ting. But read the freaking article. It's Yip Man, okay? All right? So you have those two interviews, and no such quotes exist. So where do these quotes come from? They come from students, okay, of Yip Man. Mm-hmm. Okay, you've been with me for a number of years, okay?
I got all the quotes.
Yeah, but let's say I croak next year, and I know you
No.
hate when I say that shit.
No.
All right? Okay? Now, fast forward 25 years. I've been dead for 25 years, okay? All right? Look, this is the Cuban side. Cuban people always talk about, when I'm dead, you're going to regret it, right? This is normal Cuban shit, all right? 25 years, I've been dead for 25 years. People ask you about Alex quotes, all right? Now,
I
the difference is
I got many.
I have a podcast. So
Yeah.
a lot of that
We
stuff,
can-
Yip Man had no such thing. Yip Man had 2 interviews, all right? But let's pretend none of these podcasts exist, all right? Let's say you didn't meet with me every week for a couple of years to talk with me like this, all right? How accurate would those quotes be? You might have 1 or 2, like if there was something I say all the time, all right? Like, but usually the only things you're going to remember are the funny things I say, like, all right, that's fantastic wrapped in plastic or something like that.
That's going to be
right?
my one for
Yeah.
you.
All right. But the thing is, like, but really, how many direct quotes about Wing Chun could you replicate 25 years from now? Okay. And now recognize that it's been over 50 years since Yip Man died. And most of the people who learned from Yip Man did not learn in the last few years of his life. So we are talking about people's recollections from 55 to 60, maybe 65 years ago. Okay? Maybe they gave the quote 20 years ago. Okay, fine. But then it's a 40-something-year-old quote by the time they say it. So how accurate is this stuff, right? And also, the other thing that people forget all the time is most of Yip Man's students did not speak passable English. So you have someone translating something from Chinese into basic or very poor English.
Yeah.
And the difference between, a word choice here or there, you swap a word out in the front and in the back, it could mean something completely different. So the problem is people have so many quotes that people have said that purportedly Yip Man said, but everyone promotes them as if, no, he actually said this. How do you know? So-and-so said. Dude, you could not even produce an accurate quote of me, someone you've known for years, 25 years after I'm dead. Okay? All right? If it wasn't on video and it wasn't in an interview, then people need to kind of calm down with this. All right? They say, oh, well, so-and-so also said the same thing. Yes, so-and-so was copying that interview, which is where you got it from. All right? Okay? So the fact, like, someone else is copying your source, that doesn't mean the source was legitimate, right? It's because people don't understand historical method or statistics or any of these kind of things, right? You have to be very, very cautious. Even in my books, whenever I talk about something Yip Man did, I'll always say, like, purportedly. All right? Well, because you can't say, oh, Yip Man said that. How do I know what Yip Man said at any particular time? No one does. Yeah. All right? So the problem is, okay, we need to be, like, mindful of that. Now, when it comes to this quote, all right, without knowing who said it, why they said it, if this was an honest quote or this is if you don't understand it, you might not be in the club quote, it's very difficult to determine this quote on its face value. Okay, what does it mean?
What does it
mean? Is it pseudo profundity? Is it actually profound? Is it just a flex that, oh, I know something you don't, all right, which is usually the case in Chinese martial arts, because it's never about helping the other person. It's always about showing how much you know. And if you're good enough to me, I'll show you one day, maybe, sorta, all right, which is, you go to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school and they want you to be able to do this stuff and understand it. Go to a Kung Fu school or a Wing Chun school, and they want you to squirm that you're never good enough and never quite know enough. And that's just to keep the Sifu in control, and that's horseshit. That's absolute horseshit. And that stuff has not helped Chinese martial art. It hasn't helped Chinese martial arts. When people talk about the state of Chinese martial arts, and we talked about this recently on the ranking, whether we should have a ranking system, with the Sifu Topher's question, right? Which, by the way, his podcast is That Other Wing Chun Guy. We didn't remember it last time, right?
Yeah,
So follow our boy Topher, Sifu Topher,
Shout
at
out. Shout
That
out,
Other
Toph.
Wing Chun Guy podcast,
Shout
right?
out to Topher.
So this whole idea of having these like sayings that you might get or might not get, but it sounds like I got it out of a fortune cookie because I'm like a mini Confucius, all right? Look around. Has Chinese Kung Fu benefited from this kind of nonsense or not? All right. So anyway, that was like a huge 20-minute throat clearing. So I can finally get to the question. All right. I don't think the quote is true. All right. I'm not saying that someone didn't say it.
So you
I'm
want to
saying
put this in your book?
I'm saying the sentiment
Okay.
is a bit fallacious, because your opponent, if we're talking about your training partner, usually not, but your opponent on the street, is under zero obligation to do anything to you. Yeah. They don't have to stick to your arms.
No.
They don't even have to get close to you.
No.
This is the thing that Wing Chun people have a hard time understanding. They do a lot of chi sao and stick and all this cool stuff, and then when they fight, the other guy's like backing away and not wanting to do any of it. And then what they realize at that point is they haven't sharpened any of the other skills necessary for that exchange, like having a really solid punch or a solid kick or a solid clinch game. What do you do with someone who refuses to stick to your arms? All right, for someone who's moving around your arms. Okay?
Or straight running from you.
Well, straight running, if he doesn't want to fight, you let him run. Don't do what Bruce Lee did and chase him and punch him in the back of the head, right? Only for Leo Fong to say, Bruce told me after that fight, if only I had learned hooks and uppercuts, I could have done other punches instead of the chain punch, as if Bruce didn't already have a boxing match by the time he fought Wong Jack Man.
I know.
All right?
I know.
It's ridiculous. Everyone has their own spin on everything, right? Oh, and it just so happened that I was a boxer and I could teach Bruce Lee some boxing. Well, isn't that convenient, all right? The idea is that your opponent is under no obligation to stick to your arms, to stay in front of you while you punch the shit out of them, to not try to grab you, tackle you, kick, or whatever, right? So the thing is that chi sao, while it's one of the most important skills we have because we're close, when you're at an extremely close range, the last thing you want to be doing is blocking stuff piecemeal out of the air, because human reaction time is simply not reliable for that. At distance, when you
We're
see
not cats.
Exactly, we have souls. All right, that's how we're different from cats. At distance, when a punch or kick comes at you, okay, you can see based on the lead how the guy is moving. When he comes at you, you can use your visual reactions at distance and take an angle, move to the side, come in, close the gap, whatever, right? But once you're in close, you can't really reliably block stuff out of the air. All right. So what do we try to do in Wing Chun? We try to stick to our opponent's arms so we know where they are. We know if he's retreating, pushing in, holding, doing all these things. And through our chi sao training, we hopefully have a suitable method to handle what's going on. But your opponent can also just decide to pull their hands back, can decide to back away, can decide to not touch your hands. So how are you going to force someone to stick to you, especially someone who's not indoctrinated in sticking? Okay, so there I have a problem, because there I feel like it sounds very profound, but that sounds like Wing Chun on Wing Chun.
You just gotta slather.
Yeah,
yourself
you're
in.
sticking to your partner in Wing Chun practice so you can feel them, right? And when you get much better than them, you put them in these situations where they're like panicking, and you force them to stick to you because they're Wing Chun people who are indoctrinated in sticking. Your opponent on the street may just pull their hands back and decide to punch you. Yeah, so of course, if you're fighting someone, they're under no obligation to stick to your hands. They can pull their hands back, they can run away.
You're slathered in Gorilla Glue.
Yeah, well but then you also have a
That'd be
problem.
my tactic.
All right, then you also have a problem. All right,
When you stick to your own hand, your arms get stuck like this.
exactly.
Straight like,
Then you got the
yo.
little T-Rex thing going on, right? Yeah, but so the problem is, I think it's assuming what happens to a lot of Wing Chun people. If you get really good at Chi Sao, and you only train with Wing Chun people, or you only, in your Wing Chun school, let's say your training is only Wing Chun versus Wing Chun. That's why, that's why here, one of the things we do is like, even, all of our sparring is Wing Chun versus non-Wing Chun. The other guy's attacking you like a non-Wing Chun person, but even in Chi Sao, when we do Go Sao or Lat Sao, the free sparring, we can go, okay, you're going to mix your Chi Sao sparring and your partner can back away and give you a swing or try to tackle you or put you in a headlock, right? If you're not practicing your Wing Chun with the threat of non-Wing Chun stuff coming at you, and by non-Wing Chun stuff, I don't just mean like a swing or a tackle, but the person just pulling their hands away.
Yeah.
All right, and you have to go forward and either hit or seek contact or clinch, then you're really assuming that everyone is going to have a Wing Chun-esque approach to fighting, right?
Aye, aye, aye.
And so what do we do when our opponent doesn't want to stick to us? Well, that's why you have to have striking tools that are powerful. But also, you then have to induce sticking. And usually, what do you do against a completely non-compliant opponent? You clinch them. Neck pull control, you have to clinch them. All right, and clinching with the neck pulling hand is part of Wing Chun. Single hand clinch, elbow lifting punch, all these kind of things, right? So, are you making your opponent stick to you when you grab their head? All right, no. All right, you are inducing it, right? So, I just think it sounds cool, but I think it's maybe a true statement within the bubble or within the walled garden. The very high-walled garden of Wing Chun.
It does sound profound.
All right, yeah, but only within the 4 very, very high walls inside those protected high walls of Wing Chun, right?
Yeah.
Outside of that, you touch someone's hand, they just pull back and clobber you one, right? They're not even thinking of
Who
it.
would come up with that? Who do you suspect came up with that?
I don't know. Well, it could be anyone. I'm not saying it's not true in certain contexts.
Okay.
I'm just saying it doesn't sound universal.
Have you ever heard it before?
I've heard a lot of variations of similar things.
Okay.
But if it's not useful, I don't retain it. All right? Because if it's like pie in the sky, in 30 years when you fully internalize Wing Chun, I care about what helps me now.
Yeah.
Because the only moment you have is the present.
That's it.
The future is a construct. The past is also based on your present.
So in the past, you never heard Learn Ting say this? Or anything like it?
No, does not see the Learning style of teaching. He doesn't say this kind of
He doesn't
silly
say
stuff.
these kind of
No. He's very. I mean, like people have their issues with him. I've had my issues with him or whatever. But as a teacher, he he generally is pretty pragmatic and straightforward. So he doesn't have lots of pie in the sky, Confucius sounding shit that comes out of his mouth. Right.
Wow.
Sometimes he'll put some of that stuff in books.
Okay.
Like that Zen koan, like Seng Mo Seng, like the real face is faceless, where he's talking about the abstract concept of the wooden dummy. And I talk about that in my wooden dummy book, available in our pro shop, link below. I talk about that, but he doesn't walk around while he's teaching you the wooden dummy and go, the real face is faceless.
I can't even see him doing that.
No.
It's so strange.
No, he'll write that in his book, but when he teaches it to you, it's like, don't
it's
think the
straightforward.
right arm is always the right arm. It could also be the left arm or some other shit. Don't assume something about the dummy, okay? Otherwise, you are the dummy, okay?
Otherwise
It's
you
very,
are the
very
dummy.
way like.
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
in his book, he's like,
Yeah.
it's like the Zen koan, Seng Mo Seng, right? The real face is faceless, right? So I mean, just like everyone else, even like when I write my books, it's
Yeah.
like a much cleaner. I don't mean in terms of like expletives. I mean just like it's. When you write stuff, it's not the same as when you say
What's
it, right?
cool about when you teach, you adapt to your students.
Yes.
You speak your students' language.
Yeah, well, you have to. I mean, to be
Yeah.
an effective communicator, you cannot just have one mode, right?
Yeah, but you got to work on your British accent when you teach me. Sounds a bit like Dick Van Dyke.
As long as the idea gets across that I think the accent is ridiculous, I've effectively communicated.
How
Yes,
dare
yes,
you,
yes,
sir? How dare you?
He speaks the
Yeah.
jargon without the
That's
accent.
right. That's a lovely accent. What is that, New Jersey?
So listen, mate, this is a bong sao, yeah? And then you've got to do the arrow step a bit further forward like that, right? But don't forget, no, give way, Gorblimey Governor, knock it on the head.
He's really good at that. Like if you close your eyes, you really wouldn't think that he
accent.
You really wouldn't think that he's from Jersey. All right. So what's the next question we got there, Dre?
Let's open the iPad.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
He's got one job.
That's it, man.
Did you let the iPad close, Dre?
Of course. Why wouldn't I? I'm saving
You
battery.
got those dangling keys?
Yeah, I've got the keys. I'm going to get the laser pointer out again.
Dre, here, focus. All right. So easily distracted.
It's 2023. That's what we do.
Yes, go.
That's what we do, us younger generation. Us Gen Zs.
He's
Freaking older than he's older than both of us.
I'm a Gen Z, bro.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah. You made a pact with the devil.
Calm
to
down,
look that young.
millennial. Martin Private.
Okay, boomer.
Oh,
All right, go ahead.
Stings.
Do your job, boomer.
Oh, that stings. That is a stinger.
Hey, Kung Fu Genius fans. If you like what we do here, please consider supporting us on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you'll get early access to episodes and other goodies not posted on the Kung Fu Genius channel. With higher levels of support, you can get your name in the description, a live chat with me, or at the baller level, you even get your own personal KFG episode with me as my guest. The link to our Patreon page is in the description of this episode below. Patreons have a direct link to chat with me and get first dibs on any questions for Ask Me Anything episodes. Click on the link in the description for our Patreon page for more information, and I'll see you on Patreon.
Greetings, Sifu Alex / KFG. Okay. Can you talk about the Wing Chun warrior mindset? And we can be successful outside the WT universe with a warrior mentality, and how?
That's a great question. So I'll just take issue with one thing. All right?
Shoot.
Even though he's a Patreon supporter, I love you. All right.
Oh,
I
shoot.
really don't like the term warrior when applied to people who just do martial arts at a martial arts school in 2023.
You know who's in the warrior? Our boy. He literally just bounced from USA.
What are you talking about?
Our boy.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, we're
One
not
of your grand
getting
students.
political here.
Oh, we're not
We
getting
are not getting political here.
Oh,
I know exactly where you're
talking
heading.
about-
I know exactly.
now I know what you're talking
I know
about.
exactly
all
who
right?
you're
I'm
talking
talking
about.
about.
Yo, Dre.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
All right,
No,
take it
I
easy.
love
We are not going
I
to
love him.
discuss conflicts in other parts of the world. All right?
damn.
That's not what the KFG podcast is about.
True,
all right?
true.
Yeah.
Or my own students
I wanna
taking
give
part
him
in
a
these
shout
things.
out.
All
I
right?
wanna
That
give
is
him a
not,
shout
no,
out.
no. All right?
Dre,
Zip
we
it.
are Switzerland.
Zip it. All right?
Switzerland.
We are-
We are Switzerland.
Which means
We are Swissing it out.
No, which means we're neutral on these things.
I love
all right?
it.
Yes.
I realize he didn't quite understand what you meant by that.
I did.
Okay, all right, okay.
I love Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese D.
Zip it.
Can you talk?
Okay, I'll talk about it. We got the here. Give them to me. Give them to me. Dre, focus.
Okay.
Focus. All right, keys. We got keys here. All right, okay. All right, so, Jesus.
keys close.
All right. Keep the keys close. All right, and your
That's a
Dre
new
closer.
t-shirt.
All right.
New
Okay.
t-shirt.
Let's get to the question.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
You need me to reread it?
No. All right. All right. I need you to zip it. Put a lock on it. Pull the key out. And throw it over there that way. Yeah. When it comes time, Mikey can
I'll
retrieve
chase
the
it.
key. Up. That's as the one scene from Austin Powers, right? Okay. Let me get to the question.
Okay.
Son of a bitch. All right. Okay. So I'm not a big fan of the term warrior. I think it's kind of it's a very meme thing. You know, people put on memes like, you know, the real warrior isn't the one who goes into battle, but, you know, fights every day with the demons inside them or whatever. Like, regardless of what people's opinions are about arms conflict, all right, people actually go and engage in life and death battles with weapons against other people who are really trying to kill them. They are warriors.
Yeah.
Okay. Regardless of whether you agree with that or not, agree with the war itself, right? The person who gets up every day and struggles with self-confidence issues, struggles with depression, struggles with all those kind of things is just a human being. Okay? All right? Because every single person has struggles to deal with, because it is these struggles, and if we can frame them as tests, so no one is testing us. You have these whether you want them or not, all right? How you handle these things will pretty much determine the quality of your life in most cases, all right? Obviously, there are extreme cases you can do nothing, right? But those struggles that we all go through, they just unify us as human beings. To say, like, I'm a warrior because every day I'm battling depression, okay? No, man, you're battling depression, all right?
Okay.
If you're going out in the trenches and stabbing a dude with a bayonet, then you're a warrior, okay? All right? If you are disciplined and you get up and you do your morning routine, right? And you tackle all of life's problems and you handle stuff head on, then you're just doing a good job of handling life. But I still wouldn't call you a warrior. All right, okay. I think
You're a disciplined person.
You're a disciplined person who has a good system of dealing with life's adversities. But the idea, like, yo, bro, I'm a warrior because I fight, bro. What do you fight? Every day I fight the demons in my head, bro.
Yeah.
Yes. Congratulations, you're like the rest of us.
Oh, man.
Okay, all right. We all are dealing with struggle, all right? But leave the term warrior to people who actually go out and try to kill other people and fight war and things like that, right?
It's kind of like someone saying they're a model and finding out they have an OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, or they say they're a model, but they're like a foot model or something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm a sniper on Call of Duty.
I'm a quarterback
Wow.
on
on
John
fantasy
Madden.
football, right?
Fantasy football, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so thing is, I feel like the term warrior is a little cheesy when applied to people who just do martial arts for fun.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
And same when people say, like, oh, I'm a fighter. Oh, so you fight professionally? Or you fight regularly in the ring against other people? No, I just mean like I fight. No, then you're like everyone else. Damn. Okay? The thing is that when you have something like martial arts, you can use them as a template to tackle those very same problems outside of your martial arts gym. Because let's face it, most of the problems we face in our daily lives have nothing to do with someone going jab, jab, single leg takedown. Okay? As much as we love to practice the martial arts and learn how to fight against these different things, on the day-to-day, it's not GSP's distance jab into takedowns that you're worried about, okay? It's your job, it's your financial situation, it's the people in your life, it's what are you going to do today, what are you going to do tomorrow, okay?
Well, I got to say, man, you're ruining that for me. 'Cause my favorite wrestler was the Ultimate Warrior. And he fought life, as he would say. And now I'm just like deflated about the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, especially
He was the Ultimate Warrior to me.
Yeah, but that's even a worse example because he was a warrior of fake fighting. All right, so I mean,
He was a warrior of prescription drugs.
yes, that is not a great analogy. All right,
But that's how
okay.
he was the
So
ultimate.
is that
The
All right.
weekend warrior.
weekend warrior, right? So anyway, so I just think like using the term warrior is a little overblown. Even using the term fighter. All right. Why do people need to define themselves with these things that make them sound more tough or manly? Because they're going through something difficult.
Yeah.
All right. That's just our common humanity. You can tackle all of life's problems head on. You have to say, "Yo, I'm a warrior because, like, I pay my bills the moment they come in." All right. I mean, like, just take it easy. Take it easy. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm a warrior because I don't take shit from my boss.
Yeah.
When he told me like those papers are due at 9, I brought him there at 9:05 because I'm a warrior. Yo, take it easy. All right. But all jokes aside, all right, martial arts teach us problem solving, Okay.
Okay.
In most martial arts schools, the problem-solving aspect is dealing with someone trying to punch, kick, grab, push, or pull you,
Or powerbomb you.
or some combination of those things. And so you have to learn in an adaptive fashion how to deal with those different things in a way that you minimize the injury and damage to yourself and increase your general level of safety and get out of there, hopefully, with the least amount of injuries, right? It's not just about knocking the other guy out or incapacitating the other guy. It's about self-preservation, right? So life is very much like that. It's not about taking out life's enemies so much as it's about surviving and being able to move on to the next thing and finding intelligent ways around adversity, all right? Just like we try to do in Wing Chun. But the thing is that is not, like, look, I'm a Wing Chun Sifu and I love Wing Chun, but that's not something exclusive to Wing Chun. Talk to any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu person and they will tell you that they see Jiu-Jitsu in their daily lives. The push-pull of life, right? The control, the staying, the waiting for your opportunity, the not rushing. But all those things I just said, you could apply to Wing Chun.
Okay.
All right? The going at the right opportunity, not rushing. All right? You could say the same thing about karate. You could say the same thing about judo. You could say the same thing about gardening.
Yeah.
All right? It's like Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he wrote this amazing book called Man's Search for Meaning, I think is the name of the book. I read it many years ago, and he basically talked about how some people were able to go through something like the Second World War, like being put into a camp, and some people were able to get through that mentally, and other people were very understandably so broken. And he later, I think he became a psychologist or psychotherapist or something like that. And he said that, and I'm very loosely paraphrasing again, it's been years since I've read his book, so the details may not be exactly correct, but this is the basic sentiment. That the people who are able to get through the adversity of something as horrific as that had something to live for. They had something that they used to ascribe meaning to their lives. And for some people, it could be like a religion. For some people, it could be a family member. For some people, it could be their martial arts training. For some people, it could be their yoga practice. The truth is, Wing Chun has no exclusivity on this, as much as we as Wing Chun people are like, oh, Wing Chun teaches us to go forward. But if we use the Wing Chun principles as a metaphor for life, Wing Chun teaches us to go forward and be proactive, which you have to, right? But when you run into an adversity, you're going to stick and stay, find out, listen a little bit, and then try to find a workaround, yield to opposing force, and when there's an opportunity, you go back forward again, right? Yeah, but you could create almost an identical paradigm out of any other martial art, okay? And it doesn't take a lot of steps to do that from karate, from judo, from gardening, from yoga, because any pursuit that requires you to struggle a little bit to get it or to do it will be a metaphor for life. It doesn't matter what it is. So you can find. I'm just using the term loosely. You can find Zen in pizza making. You can find Zen in cooking. You can find Zen in motorcycle mechanics. All right, Zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance. Right. The thing is that it's about finding meaning in something, and oftentimes if that thing is something you have to work a little hard to get good at, or work a little hard to do, or there's a little bit of struggle, that by default becomes a perfect metaphor for dealing with your struggles in your daily life. It's not exclusively a Wing Chun thing. It's because Wing Chun people, they see those parallels and they go, wow, isn't Wing Chun amazing? But you would talk to a jiu-jitsu guy and hear the same thing. Karate guy, hear the same thing. You find someone who is a computer programmer and they write code, and that's like all they do, and they find this meaning in it. Yeah. And you don't understand writing code. You don't understand why that would be meaningful. But like what that does for that person is it gives them a metaphor. And they might use code writing as a metaphor for dealing with difficult people if they can internalize it. Now, that's not to say everyone who does martial arts internalizes it for use outside of the school, or everyone that does yoga or computer programming or motorcycle maintenance. But if you go deeply into pretty much any pursuit that you have to struggle to get good at, struggle to do, or struggle to keep, any pursuit, you can use that as a template to improve your life. And that's what I have to say about that. And you don't need to call yourself a warrior because we all struggle. All right. That's just our shared humanity. Let the warriors be the people who actually fight. Let the fighters be the people who actually fight in the ring or professionally.
All right.
And it's okay to just say, I'm a martial artist. I do martial arts. I practice martial arts. And you don't need these extra, when people say like, oh, yeah, Sifu Richter, he's like a real warrior. I feel it's like the cheesiest thing in the world to say. And I also feel it's very disrespectful for people who put their life out on the line to really fight for a cause. Like, not talking about anything specifically. I'm saying like someone who actually goes out there and is willing to risk their life for a cause. That person's a warrior, man. I just teach Wing Chun for a living. Yeah. All right. Take it easy. Right. All right. So anyway, next question.
All right. Next question is Matt.
All right.
All right. Great podcast, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. As a non-WC guy, I still find gold.
That's amazing.
Always believe in your soul.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing how many non-Wing Chun and even non-Jeet Kune Do people listen to our podcast.
I love that.
Pretty amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
We get some bakers
Yeah.
that listen to us, too. I love that part.
Yes.
What was Bruce Lee's opinion on Kali, Arnis Eskrima FMA?
Eskrima.
What? You don't like the word
What's
Eskrima?
FMA stand for?
FMA?
Yeah, it's a test. Filipino martial arts. There you go.
Yes. Yes.
I have to tell the guy who comes from a JKD concept school. Before he started Wing Chun with me.
Why?
FMA, Filipino martial arts.
Why?
All right. Yeah. You probably had that written on your shirt along with the 80 other martial arts that you were learning.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Don't remind me.
Shout out to JKD Concepts.
Why did he have this opinion? I am sure Dan Inosanto had something to do with this. Also, you have mentioned in the past about Kali in European WC and as a movement practice. As a Kali practitioner myself, do you feel this is a good adjunct to other arts? Thanks in advance.
Yeah, great question.
They're all great questions, man.
Well, because these are our Patreons. It's a
Patreons
different level of quality
Yeah.
than YouTube.
Yeah.
Great, we've just alienated our half-hour audience. Well played.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, a lot of our YouTube commenters are also our Patreons.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, most of the questions we answered on YouTube also happen to come from people who then later, or at that time, were already supporting us on Patreon anyway. Yeah, it's just like, Bruce Lee didn't do no drugs. What you got to say about that, KFG? All right? Yeah, I'm not going to do an episode on that. Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah, really not very humble for someone who calls himself Kung Fu genius. Am I going to have to explain this again for the 80th time?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I cannot say what Bruce Lee thought about Arnis
You were
Eskrima
not
or
in his head
Filipino
like
martial
that?
arts. No one was in his head.
Damn.
The truth is, you've known me now for many, many years. All right? Would you agree?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I die tomorrow. All right?
Oh,
Okay? 25 years. And look, and you were not just like one of my students. You're an instructor. You've traveled with me. And you did a podcast with me for 2.5 years until my untimely demise, right? 25 years go by. And someone says, your Sifu, he used to spend a lot of time with Mak Sifu in Hong Kong. What was your Sifu's opinion of Hongar?
Oh, wow.
Now tell them.
Wow.
And you couldn't even answer that today.
Yeah.
You know that I have a favorable opinion of Mak Sifu and of Chinese martial arts in general and stuff. But
about Hongar,
but would you know
that's-
specifically what? And you know it probably would be positive.
Mm-hmm.
But would you know specifically what I would have to say about it?
I'll have to put some serious thought into that.
Yeah, but
question.
you wouldn't be able to do it.
No.
You wouldn't be able to say, my Sifu thought Hongar was da 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 da, and then come out with like 5 bullet points that you could defend.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be able to do that today, and you sure shit wouldn't be able to do it in 25 years. So the problem is, most of these questions about what did Bruce Lee think about XYZ fall into that exact same category. Even if you were Bruce Lee's boy, okay, like Dan Inosanto, like some other people at various times in his life, I think you would be very hard-pressed to say anything beyond Bruce and I had a conversation about this a couple times, which gave me the idea that he thought this and this was okay. But beyond that, you actually can't say anything. Bruce Lee thought XYZ was really great, and he was looking to By the time you start free-flowing your speech about what someone else thought, I know you're making it up.
Interesting.
Because if someone asked me, all right, Dre's your boy, what does he think about Young MC? All right? And now we're talking, but the reason why I'm making that analogy is because I know what you think of Young MC.
Damn.
As opposed to, like, if someone asked me what...
He's phenomenal.
Yeah, but if someone asked me 25 years from now, what did Dre think about Tone Loc? All right? I wouldn't be able to say anything. And if I started like pontificating, well, Tone Loc was like part of the blah, 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 then I would have to be lying.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh,
because
no.
I'll tell you why. If it's something that I actually know, like Young MC, whether you ask me today, tomorrow, or 25 years from now, I'll say, oh my God, Dre hated Young MC. And I would play Bust a Move all the time just to piss him off. And I never quite understood why he didn't like Young MC.
Damn.
And Dre. That would be all I could say.
Yeah.
But if I'm like going, well, you have to understand that, well, like, you know, Dre was really big into hip hop, and then there was and there was all this filler, and then there's all this other stuff, and like, so I believe that because, you know, Young MC was a bit of a one-hit wonder, and like, if you really listen to his lyrics, they don't have the same level of like a, you know, a Rakim or like a Guru or whatever. But the moment I start doing all this stuff, this is my projection of why you don't like Young MC.
Yeah, I never really explained.
No, you never explained it.
Yeah.
So all I could say is, oh, he hated Young MC, but I used to play Bust a Move all the time to clown him. And I would be able to say those two lines.
Okay.
And when people start to wax poetic about what Bruce Lee thought about XYZ, if they were not someone who was extremely close to Bruce Lee, you have to go, okay, this is secondhand information that's now being bloated by pontifications, all right? And if it's someone who knew Bruce Lee and they go on and on about something, I go, how much of this is their take on what they thought Bruce Lee liked versus how much of this is really what Bruce Lee thought or said? Okay. So the problem is that there are limits of human cognition when dealing with explaining someone else's point of view. You just can't. You can point to trends, you know, in someone's life, and you can point to incidents, but you can't say Bruce Lee thought blah. You can't. How do you know? All right. You can't even honestly say why you like or don't like things yourself. Okay. Tell me why you really don't like Young MC. All right. It would boil down to, I think he's whack. I think he sucks.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a 10-page essay. You understand what I'm saying? It would just be like, I just didn't like the song. I don't like it. I thought he was cheesy. I don't like his voice. I don't like his video. I don't like anything.
His voice is...
Like everything about it, right? But you see, it's not, but the point I'm making, Dre, it's not a dissertation.
Okay.
It's not a thesis. It's not a college paper. It's like, I don't fucking like it. So
I could probably
simple.
give you a 10-page dissertation on why I hate the Red Hot Chili Peppers, though.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's low-hanging fruit, sir.
Oh,
all right,
True,
that's
you
easy.
know.
All right?
I can give you a 50-page dissertation why I hate U2 and Coldplay.
But Bono is a perfect human being.
Why would you even...
How dare you, sir?
Why would you even go there?
Yeah.
Why would you
The dude
ever?
from Coldplay named his daughter Apple.
Yeah.
He
He's so cool.
consciously uncoupled from his ex-wife. They are pricks.
Yes, they are. So anyway, so the problem is I can't answer the first part. What did Bruce Lee think about the... All right? Because I couldn't say that about anyone that I knew personally.
I'm curious.
All right.
Like, he did practice Kali?
Well, so the problem is even the answer to that question depends on who you ask.
Oh,
so
wow.
within the JKD world, as you know, we've talked about this ad nauseum on this podcast. You have the original JKD peeps who basically just do the, and I'm paraphrasing, and every time I tiptoe into the tulips of JKD politics, they're like, well, you're not really defining it. Broad strokes, all right? Because no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit.
They
no
want
one
you
gives
to
a shit.
tiptoe through the tulips.
All right? Original JKD people who purport to practice the Jeet Kune Do that Bruce Lee he himself practiced. And Jeet Kune Do concepts people, usually from the Dan Inosanto camp, who purport to follow the ideas and concepts and principles of JKD, but are not bound to any particular style or expression as long as they kind of keep it within a certain framework or whatever, right? So a modern JKD concepts person would have a little bit of like the Jun Fan kickboxing, a little bit of trapping, a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a little bit of Filipino martial arts, a little bit of, I don't know, Irish bullwhip, whatever, right? As long as it fits into the JKD framework, it's all
Irish
JKD,
bullwhip.
right?
Yeah.
And then there are people who are like, you know, big Bruce Lee heads, and they're like, no, that's Bruce Lee didn't do, didn't practice African martial arts, didn't do Savat, whatever. And then the problem is then it ends up the whole Bruce Lee, all of these Bruce Lee questions end up taking a form which is very similar to religious discourse. You know, you can take a book like the Bible and quote mine it for quotes that are pleasant sounding, for quotes that are awful, for atrocities, for nice sounding platitudes. You can quote mine and find whatever you want because it is a completely contradictory book with stuff that's all over the place, right?
Okay.
Well, Bruce Lee's notes were his notes that he took on many different types of books. So he had some notes from his book like Asian Fighting Arts, where he wrote notes about Thai boxing and this and that or whatever. And then people look at their notes and they go, look, Bruce Lee was studying Thai boxing. Well, he took notes from a book that he read. But what do you know about why he wrote that down? All right, it was like my late podcast partner, Big Sean Madigan. He made this point many times. It's like people look at a note that Bruce Lee wrote and they go, see, this meant that Bruce Lee was doing this. And you don't know, as I was saying before, how you can never get into the mind of someone else. You don't know why he wrote that down. Maybe he wrote that down because he thought it was interesting. Maybe he wrote that down because he thought, if someone does this attack against me, how would I defend it? I need to think about that. But the person goes, oh, look, Bruce Lee was studying this low kick in Thai boxing. And maybe Bruce was going, if someone gave me a low kick, how would I handle that?
It's like if I wrote, this is a jam for all the fellas.
Try to do what those ladies tell us.
Yeah, basically saying never put this in a rhyme.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to add one other dissertation on Phil Collins, too.
Jesus. All right. Leave the man alone. He's a genius.
He
all
is
right?
a genius.
No, you're a genius. He's a prick.
He's not a prick. He's a musical genius.
How
Like the
dare
likes
you.
of Stevie Wonder.
He's the genesis of
Yes.
genius.
He's the genesis of genius.
Dear God.
Yeah.
Oh, dear God.
Yes.
What?
How
Yes.
dare you use his name in the
You're
same
just
breath as
upset
Stevie
because
Wonder?
you can't dance. All right. So, I get it.
Come on.
All right.
Come on.
The only thing about him is the way that he talks.
yeah.
all
Philip
right.
Bailey thought the same thing. Okay.
Do you want us to do this again? Because we will murder you with Phil Collins. I will stop talking about this topic, and I will just go full Phil Collins nuclear missile on you.
man.
All right?
Oh, man.
I'll do it.
Oh, man.
All right? Careful where you want to go. All right? Do not besmirch the name of Phil Collins on my podcast. All right?
How dare you?
The man is a genius. He's up there with with Stevie Wonder, Elton John.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah. Elvis. All right,
All of
okay?
them.
All of them.
MJ.
All right? Anthony Kiedis, he's up there with all of them, all right? Okay, so let me get to this question.
Well put.
All right, so anyway, this poor guy asking us about a scream on. We're just dilly-dallying on this question here, right? So the thing is that we don't know beyond maybe some notes that Bruce Lee did. Like, you don't really know what he thought about it. Obviously, Dan Inosanto introduced some kind of Filipino martial arts
I
to
don't
him.
remember any photos of Bruce.
No, but you have the
doing
films. Don't forget, in Enter the Dragon, Bruce uses the
He
two
did
sticks.
use the two sticks.
Okay?
I agree.
Yes, and also
But-
in Game of Death.
True.
Yeah, and also
did,
while you know, in doing like the bamboo stick and this and versus single stick and the nunchucks and stuff in his fight scene with Dan and Asanto.
Yeah.
So it's very clear that obviously Bruce had been exposed to it. But how do we know that Bruce just didn't think it was something that looked cool in the movies?
In the movies, yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, now me personally, to go back to the question there, in the European Wing Chun organization in the late 70s, Sifu Kanspecht started a relationship with a guy named René Latoza, the late René Latoza, who's an expert in Eskrima from Stockton, California, like the Diaz brothers, right?
Love it.
And it was seemingly the perfect fit. Although Sifu Leungting hated it, all right? The fact that, like, in the European Wing Chun organization, you had Wing Chun WT and, like, Latoza Eskrima, and they were kind of like two arts that were offered in the EWTO and looked like they were both on equal footing. That really pissed off Sifu Leungting, you know? Because he just thought, like, no... He thought he thought it was a bit of a betrayal on the EWTO's part. Mind you, that didn't stop him from collecting money from the EWTO. But he thought it was like, hey, you're supposed to represent my Wing Chun. Why are you putting a Filipino martial art on the same pedestal as my Wing Chun, right? And the truth is, it never really was that way in the EWTO. And many EWTO or Leungting Wing Chun haters say like, oh, those guys in Europe were mixing Eskrima and Wing Chun. And that was never the case. I tell you that because I trained in Europe for 3 years.
Okay.
That was like a church and state division, okay?
Right.
Wing Chun was taught as Wing Chun, and Eskrima was taught separately in separate classes. The only time the two ever met was occasionally when we were doing stick defense.
defense,
All right, if
okay.
you learned stick defense and you had done some Eskrima, you could give better stick fighting attacks, or you could maybe see different ways of doing it than in the classical Wing Chun way, right? But they were never mixed, all right? But the idea was that because traditionally the weapons come very late in Wing Chun, all right? You're not going to learn the pole or the knives until you've been around for a minute. And in terms of practical self-defense, it makes sense for people to know how to use basic everyday found items as weapons, right? So everything that you learn with a single stick could be applied to an umbrella that you have in your hands, could be applied to a rolled up newspaper or a rolled up magazine. Rolled up newspapers would be pretty useless, but a rolled up magazine, right?
Okay.
Could be applied to all sorts of found objects, a baseball bat, a lead pipe, whatever you find, right?
Whatever you find.
And you could use those skills to defend yourself against armed or unarmed opponents. So from a practical perspective, it totally makes sense to learn Filipino martial arts, right? Especially if you have a good instructor who understands that it's because in some Filipino martial arts, it can go really overboard with all the patterns. So if you see these guys doing all this stuff here, and if you just threw a wrench in there, they would fall apart, right? The idea is that you need to learn how to move according to how your opponent moves and not just go into these 5 basic patterns, and then when someone doesn't do their part, the whole thing falls apart, right? So if you have a very good practical, whether it's Arnis, Kali, or Eskrima or whatever, if you have a good practical instructor who knows how to do it, maybe does it with some sparring with foam sticks and things like that, it's very good for self-defense. From a movement perspective, it's fantastic. Because coordinating, especially with 2 weapons in your hands, or like 2 same weapons, or 2 asymmetrical weapons, like a sword and a buckler, right? Or a long stick and a dagger, right? That stuff's really good for your brain and your move, like your whole ability to be coordinated, right? And anything you do that improves your coordination improves you athletically in general, not just specifically for the thing you're doing. So, but you could say that about any type of movement art. But I think that Filipino martial arts are a really great adjunct to any martial art. If someone was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu person, they're like, oh, I want to do something, just can't improve my general coordination. We should do some Filipino martial arts, right? Or you should learn some Chiu from a good Sifu or something like that. Anything that you do that takes you a little bit out of your element and forces you to make adaptations is going to improve how your brain works, right?
Love it.
In athletic movement. So there's that. And then, of course, my good friend, Dr. Mark Cheng, created this, awesome combat system called K3, and it's Filipino martial arts, but it's for movement, for improving coordination, for improving, body-brain connection, all these kind of things, right? And so I totally agree with that. I think it's a very practical martial art if it's taught in a practical way. 2, it's really great for movement in general and coordination. And 3, because the weapons don't come until very late in Wing Chun, it's a great thing to do alongside. But then there are just a couple little caveats there. There are people who can train 2 very different things simultaneously with no problem. I'm one of those people, okay? I could, train Wing Chun and say Eskrima in the same day back and forth, and I'm never in the middle of a chi sao bout gonna pull out a stick and start beating the dude, right? Or if I'm in the middle of Eskrima or whatever, I'm never gonna suddenly like drop it, go on one rear leg and kick the guy or something. Like I don't have like I can separate those things, right? But some people can't, and we talked about this cross training issue on a recent episode of the Kung Fu Genius podcast with I did an interview with another podcast. They're called Kung Fu Conversations. Yeah. And you guys can check that out. It's a few weeks back. And we talk about this thing of cross-training and when is it good. And it depends on the student. Some people can do multiple things at once without having any ill effects to the other things they're doing. And some people can do multiple things and they all improve each other. And some people can do multiple things and it fucks everything up. All right? So the problem is it's a very individual thing. Okay? So I thought that it was a good thing that they kind of teach it separate but side by side. In terms of the Bruce Lee stuff, did Bruce Lee really have passion for Filipino martial arts in terms of his ability as a fighter, or did he think it was cool in the movies? Okay?
Or maybe he thought it was good for coordination.
Yes, I mean, but the thing is we don't know.
We don't.
And I'm the last person to speculate on those things.
Man.
And that's all I gotta say about that. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Kung Fu Genius. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the Kung Fu Genius. Hit that bell for notifications. And if you have any ideas for future episodes of KFG, go ahead and put those in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.
Word is I'm a kung fu genius. Technique speaks for me, not lineage. Forget Jet Li, cause I'm the one. Many call me seafood, but to you I'm sea gung. And I produce masters. You surpassed us. Your kung fu stiffer than corpse and caskets. City Wing Chun is the house I built. Violate the gate and your blood gets spilt. Alex, Richter, always the victor.
Hey, Nicole, we're recording back here, just so you know.
Don't make it without phone calls like you like to.
Yeah. You better have my money. Yeah, you got money. You got money for new Nikes, but you only got money to pay back the boss. Yeah, I'm gonna see you at your work next week. I'm not telling you what day. I'm Nicole, bitch. And you will know my name. Yeah. Have you ever picked up your teeth with broken fingers? Do you want that experience? All right, okay. So here we go. Jangle those keys.
You gotta put the keys right here, bro.
Not with those. Not with those Phil Collins arms.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
How dare you mention his name in my presence?
Yes.
Phil Collins was a warrior too.
Yeah.
in
Okay.
the day.
All right, Bootsy Collins, let's go.
Bootsy Collins?
Let's go.
All right, peeps. On today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be answering all sorts of questions from
Hot
Patreons.
nonsense from Patreon.
Hot nonsense.
Jangle those keys.